What up? What up? What up, gang?
What it do?
Ain't nothing, man. We back at it again for this late Sunday Braspective, talking about some stuff that we be talking about on here this evening. We got a interesting topic for our viewers.
You got some bubbly?
Well, since when we be busting out each other about what's in our cup?
What you got, man?
Why we do that? Why you do that?
Oh,
You're
man.
21, ain't you?
Yeah, but we live, bro. Don't be
Oh, man, we didn't do you wrong.
Hilarious. Yo, hey, so fellas, I know everyone has had the chance, has made its ways viral. We've talked about it, we discussed it, and I figured it'd be a good topic for us to bring to the perspective and keep it real for people. Everybody watch Kevin Samuels' video that's went viral on WorldStar, Twitter. It's been everywhere now. He also has a YouTube page. If you haven't watched the video, you can go watch him at Kevin Samuels on YouTube, where he is a dating consultant, and he had a young woman from North Carolina call in and talk about dating, and she wanted to know why she was having a hard time finding a six-figure man as a six-figure woman business owner. So how'd you guys feel about the video? What was your thoughts when watching the video?
I said, damn.
I felt he went hella hard, and I felt like I don't know how necessary that was. That he went hella hard. I know we gonna get into if he was telling the truth or not, but the man went real hard.
Yeah, I think if that was my daughter, me and him would have some words, but you can't knock his opinion. So we'll talk about it, but his opinion is his opinion, and maybe he would speak some truth. It'll get unfleshed in here, but if that was my daughter, I've been like, dude, you tripping.
Hey, I said, hey, he a savage. He a savage. Hey, but like you said, man, it's some he had some nuggets in there though, but the way he did it was kind of a little harsh, man. He definitely was a little harsh.
He gave her the uppercut.
So kind of viewing it, the way that it starts off, right? So the setup is he has a segment where people can call in with like complaints or disagreements, right? Disagreements. So the lady jumped in and she had a question. Now, this is his business. His business is you contact me, you schedule an appointment, and we'll talk. Well, she wanted to use his segment for disagreements to come in with her question. So he was already irritated, right? And you can kind of tell by how he was dealing with her. And he told her, I'm going to use this as a learning opportunity. Well, as you go through the whole video is like 20 minutes. I mean, more throughout the video, he seems to be very calm with the lady. She's asking, these various questions. Well, one of the biggest things that we talked about was one, obviously, it seemed like he was going in too hard on her, right? But on the other end, he had some very valid points. Do you guys agree or disagree? Because fundamentally, what he was explaining to her is average women get average men. Do you guys agree or disagree what he's saying as far as average people get average people?
So I can say this, and this is just from where I come from. I know off top what type of girl I can actually target at and get at. I'm not going to say it's average, but I just know who I'm going to try to talk to. So if I'm out and about and I was trying to date someone and I'm like, yo, she looks like she is going to create something that I can't afford, or she going to ask for things I can't afford, and I'm just going one way. I'm not talking about unequally yoked or anything like that yet. But if I can just tell, like, nah, that's going to be just something I don't want to deal with. Not saying that she's above average, but I'm like, nah, that's not what I want. She's out of the league that I'm trying to deal with because of how she presents. I can't deal with that.
What? What the hell did you just say on Braspective?
I'll just say it this way. If she looked like she's trying to be gold diggerish, I can't deal with it. I don't know if that's considered average, but that's something I can't deal with. That's important. Go ahead, give me.
So are you saying that if she seems like she's going to be a bill and not an asset.
I said gold diggerish. I can't deal with it. I don't know if that's above average or if that's average. What is that? Because I don't know. I don't know if it's average or above average. I'm just saying.
Well,
I don't want to deal with it.
There's so many talking points on what he said, and I know you told me to get him, but I'm listening here and I'm thinking to myself that, okay, I can get where he's coming from on the whole thing that it's a bill, but you know what? In real reality, almost anybody, most of the time when you're a man and you're doing your thing in a relationship, there's a lot of situations are going to feel like a bill. So where are we going with exactly with that? Because if you're in a position to do, then you're going to create bills for yourself. That's a part of balling out. That's what I mean. That's kind of where it goes.
I'm just starting it off with, if I don't know if she's above average, but I know I don't want no bill. So if that's considered above average, then that's something I don't want to deal with.
Now, I will second him and say that, you know, it is nice when your significant other gets her own bag, gets her own check, and those things are not necessarily necessary. But at the same time, I need Parrish to go in a little bit further than that. He kind of jabbed us and then backed out. I want to know where he's going with that.
Where did I back out? Go ahead. Lead it all in more. What are you saying?
So
I'm just keeping the conversation going. Go ahead.
So here's the problem with P said. P said, to me, the problem that I have with he said, right? We are alpha males, right? Obviously, we're Kappas, but as a man, we are alpha males. And you should not be intimidated just because how a woman carries herself to make you feel like she is out of your league. There is no such thing as out of your league. You shoot your shot. If your shot go in, you won. You can't be out here telling people on the perspective that you don't shoot your shot simply because of how a person look. If I see Beyonce on the street and she look, I'm going to go and say something to Beyonce. Now, she may have ownership of, or she may be with Jay-Z, but I'm not going to not shoot my shot simply because she got $100, $300, $400 million in the bank.
Didn't say
what that got to do with anything?
I didn't say that. I said if she look like she going to be a bill, I don't want to deal with her.
All right, but it's the same thing. I mean, what's wrong with a woman who looks like she may be expensive, right? What's wrong if she bougie and she walking around with this bag, this $5,000 bag, $2,000 heels on? You know, what's the issue with that? I mean, if she's expensive, what if she only needs you for companionship? She don't really need you to buy anything for her. You gonna not talk to her just because she look expensive?
That's not what I said, but I'll let it keep on unfolding. Go ahead. That's not what I said, but I'll let it keep on unfolding.
Go ahead.
For him, man.
He's crazy.
Go ahead. I'm the argument. Go ahead.
I don't know, man. I don't know what Parrish is talking about, but I think everybody got their own things that they look for when they dating. And he said, hey, if she got certain things, she might be out of his league. But I don't know, man. I'm from a different club. I'm going to try it. Like Dewan said, I'm going to try it. But to each his own. But, man, the dude was definitely dropping some jewels in there. And I think it's important for people to kind of – we always hear people having this list. Think about people having a list. And as you get older, I'm telling you, that list shrinks. So when I talk to clients, females say they got a list of 40, 50 things. All right, you do at 28. But when 35 come, that list gonna switch to 5 things on your list. So just be careful. Be careful about that list.
Yeah, you know who hurt my soul about that list is y'all remember when Chili had her dating show? All right, no, I love Chili, bro. So what happens is Chili kind of dating Mayweather, then she kind of doing her thing, and then they ask her about this list of like the do's and don'ts of what a man gotta have or not have. She said some outlandish shit. I mean, I think her list was about 45 things long. I mean, but by the time she got to 6 or 7, I was like, I don't like you no more, and you ain't never gonna like me. That was the end. But you know what? To get back on to kind of do we disagree or agree with what Homeboy said, and me and Parrish was having this conversation yesterday when I was coming home from work. I kind of disagree, right? Because he told her basically she average and she only needs to go for men in that average category.
No, she rated herself as average.
She said 5. She said a 5.
Okay.
She said 5.
Okay. She rated herself as average. And maybe this is why she doesn't count towards that ratio. You give me 5 women. 3 out of 5 women can probably date any man that they want to date, regardless of caliber or anything that they talking about. 3 out of 5. No, I do think that 3 out of 5 women can get any man that they want. We said we going there today, so I'm gonna go there. I think the issue is this. I don't know. It's not about can they get him, can they retain him? Can they retain him?
All right, I'm with you on that one.
Because look at right. Regardless of what we're talking about here, some of these rich dudes and different things going on in the world right now is having one night stands or messing with chicks that they ain't never really gonna put on for real. So if we're considering bagging them as having some type of interaction, this sexual interaction between them, that could lead into more and more sexual interactions. The whole thing is that can the woman retain the man? Can she sustain and retain him? And when you're talking about long-term and longevity and is she average or not compared to what he's got going on, then maybe all of that stuff starts to really come into play. But if you just give me an interaction, happy hour, a bar, a club, or something like that, 3 out of 5 women got a chance to bag any man that they want in that club.
Man, they wasn't talking about that, Tav. She was talking about finding a man.
Yeah, let me finding a man. You don't think the environment in which you find a man or a woman?
I think one of the biggest issues is that, a lot of women can be delusional when it comes to dating in their expectations, right? Jeff talked about the list, right? And the list. And the older you get, the opportunity for you to meet people decreases, right? Dating wise, right? When you're young, high school, you got 3,000, 4,000 kids, you out dating, hanging around, Snapchat. College, same thing. 40,000, 30,000 kids. You got a lot of selections. The older you get, the less selections, because the less you're out, the less you're running around, the more stable you become, the less options you have. You work for a company that got 100 employees and you go to church on Sunday. For the most part, a lot of women, that's going to be their options, right? Well, because of their options are limited and they may not hang in the spaces where these men that they want are, they're going to, and again, a lot of women are interviewing men for a husband. Now, again, no disrespect, because there are some women out there who just looking for the D, right? There's some women out there that just say, hey, I'm just looking for somebody to smash. But there is a lot of women, when they're evaluating a man, they're evaluating, is this man my husband potential? And without their ability to fully know how to evaluate somebody, because I always tell a lot of my clients, hey, look at yourself, write down characteristics that you bring into a relationship. You take that list, and that gives you an idea of the foundationally what you are looking for in a partner. The things that you bring to a table, that's foundationally where you start at for what you're looking for in a partner. Some people are looking for things that they can't even bring to a table from someone else. And that becomes the issue.
So has any of y'all ever dated out of y'all league?
So let me say this. The reason why I started,
everything's in my league.
Hey, Tab.
If I told you, you're in my league.
Tab, I was a Mac, bruh. I was a Mac, bruh. Come on, man.
Let me just say the reason why I started out with the comment I did was at the first thing, and it started off even back to what Dude was talking about. We're all looking at the superficial. So that's why I said the comment that I said. It all started with superficial, and we all fed into it. Everybody jumped in. What? How she looked? Da, 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 da. And I was like, exactly. I didn't say all that. I'm just looking at her superficial. You really can't break all that down if they out of your league, or if you can't really deal with them until you actually held that first 1 or 2 conversations. It's at that point you start to be like, all right, if this is somebody I want to really engage with, or is this something I'm just going to see where it goes, and then I may play it off later. So that, I think that's the piece that DeJuan, I'm echoing what you just said. You create your list, and as you start to really surround yourself with what your list is, you start to break down. Well, shoot, that was a superficial shot I was looking at. Maybe I need something that got some more depth to it.
But so your list is your league, and your list is your league rules, right? So you can look at somebody and know if you in check with what you're looking for and how you're trying to rock. Like, this is the league rules. This is what my league rules. And based on the way this person presents, shows up in general, they don't really follow my league rules. So they can either be not ready to play in the NBA, or they could be something that's just not a part of your league in general. But I think that you can look at somebody and judge that based on conversation, presentation, and be like, I don't know about that.
Let me throw another thing in here. I'm going to use your league rule line. Is it because the league rule that you're looking at is the people you surrounded by? Because I bet you if we were surrounded by a different any caliber of women that we wanted to be surrounded by would be a different conversation. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you like, oh, she's out of my league, but you thinking she's out of your league because you're just not around the individual, then you're like, maybe she is out of
Paris. Yeah. What are you talking about? You know, it's more women than men, right?
Right, I know that, but look, what he's talking about, he's saying she's out, it's your league rules, and I'm like, well, is that because of where you're at? So, say if you were in the industry, if you want to call it, or say you was at college, you start to look at different women in different ways when you're surrounded by those women. So,
hey, listen to all them settings. Listen to all them settings, right? So when y'all at college, right, who was the dominant? Right. It was women. At work, who was the dominant? Women.
What I'm saying is, you didn't think they were out of your league because you was like, I'm around these women all day long.
No, it ain't no such thing as out of your league.
Like, there isn't. I'm not saying it's out of your league. I'm just going off of what Tab just said. He said your league rules, and I'm like, well, is your league by where you at, or is it who you surround yourself with? Where is that league?
I'm trying to talk for the general public, whether we get in trouble for this later on or not. I ain't nothing out of my goddamn league. I was always.
That's what I'm saying. When you say league, always on the page referring to, because what's the league? What's the league?
But that was we're talking about at a younger time. I'm talking about as you get older and that list starts to get refined. That's based on a lot of different things. For instance, Jeff, Dewan, myself, you married right now. You get divorced, you jump back into the dating pool. There are going to be specific league rules on who you would, how you would move from that point on. Everything ain't fair game.
Why not?
Yeah, it is. You a boy. You a man.
When you say that, what are the league rules? There's no league rules.
It's divide and conquer.
Yo. All right, listen. Hold on for context, right? So there was a study that I read, and I don't remember where it came from, so I ain't gonna be able to cite it properly. But it said that there are over 2 million single Black women. 2 million, bro. You think about men that are in prison. You think about men that are gay. You think about men who, because of certain lifestyle choices, they've kind of priced themselves out of the dating game, right? They still on the block, 40 years old, still gang banging, pants sagging, pants on the ground, right? So you have a lot of women out here looking for, not to mention population wise, right? There's over 20 Black men in the United States of America, and there's 20 Black men and there's 22 Black women, right? So population wise, there's already more of them than us. So what I'm saying is, and I've said this, it's harder for a Black woman to find a good Black man than it is for a Black man to find a good Black woman. You know what I'm saying? So for what she's saying is, hey, if I'm average, I should be able to get someone out of her league. And I think where Kevin or what Kevin was trying to say was, it's rare because if a man has all these qualities, he wants a certain type of woman, and he doesn't want an average woman if he's bringing more than what the average man is bringing to the table. So when she's talking about a Black man making over 6 figures, only 3% of Black men only make over 6 figures. Only 3% of Black men, actually 4%, make over 6 figures, right? So she's looking for like a needle in a haystack, essentially. Now, I'm not saying a needle in a haystack because there's a lot of men out here that make money. Particularly, look, you live in California, New York, some of the places, just to live there, you got to make a lot of money.
So who's ready to put themselves on a cross tonight? What is an average woman then? What is that? What are we defining that to be?
We using that lady as an example. I don't know. You just said you got your own list, but we talking about that lady, that situation.
Right.
Ain't we? That's what I thought.
Yeah. She, again, because she rated herself as a 5. Now, if you're going to ask me, I'll be real. I have no issue with answering these questions. To me, when you're thinking about, there are certain things that you're going to view as everyone brings to the table. That's your average. That's your mean, right? What does the normal people or women bring to the table? I think in most relationships, a normal woman brings to the table, she's nurturing. So she's supportive, right? She's got your back. All that's nurturing. She's cooked, right? And she can have sex with you, right?
3 things, that's it.
No, we're talking about average. As well as well as more than likely she's probably smarter than you.
Wait a minute.
Right?
You
She's probably smarter than you.
Wait a minute. Y'all are going wild today.
So
If she feeds you, she nurtures you, and she cooks. If she feeds you, she nurtures you, and she has you. That's average.
Listen. I dated a girl in high school. Her grandmother, who was 70 years old when I went to visit, her grandmother said, "Oh, you got you a good man. All you got to do to keep him is keep his belly full and his balls empty." Her grandmother said that in front of me and her. Now, let's keep it real. Y'all stop acting like that. Let's keep it real. If every time you're going over to the house, if every time you're going over to the house, she's taking care of you and she's feeding you, are you leaving?
Mm-mm.
No, you're not leaving.
He said, "Mm-mm."
You're not leaving. So when we talk about what's average, let's keep it real. Men have lower expectations. They don't need a lot to be pleased.
Nah.
We don't need a lot to be pleased.
You see that all the time online. If you do the women's list and the man's list, the man's list be real small and the women's list be going off the goddamn paper. So that's definitely the truth.
So that's why there's only going to be certain things on average for what a man's looking for, because the list is smaller. So as the list smaller, the average decreases. If I got 4 things on the list, then the average is 2. You get what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. Now, when you ask a woman, her list got 20, 25, 30 things. Man, loves God, probably has a good relationship with her with family, friends, can cook, can clean. Again, I can cook, I can clean too. These are all things that we should all be able to do. But men value certain things just like women. And I think it's important for women to know, because the question is really, is a woman willing to do what she needs to do in order to get the man that she wants and keep that man? Like Tab said. And I don't know, because as soon as you do something that they don't like, then they looking for the next. Well, they're gonna be lonely.
You said women looking for the next?
When you do something that they don't like.
Paris, why don't you tag your ass in since you keep raising
This nigga raising his eyebrows, lowering his eyebrows, raising his eyebrows.
I'm here. I'm like, wait a minute. Tab saying let's go in, and he's saying, well, what's average? DeJuan gave us like the statistical way of men and women supposed to engage, whereas Taff, I think, is like, are we saying average is a look, or is average is a way that you treat somebody? So I'm like, wait a minute,
look,
where we going with that?
It's not just appearance.
I didn't even say nothing about appearance when I gave my average.
It ain't about appearance. Average, the whole body of the person. But instead of you being the goddamn rocking shit and giving us the people's elbow, why don't you put us on with your thought process in there?
I'm trying to let you guys define what you consider average, because in my opinion, it's you're not. I'm not gonna get to your house and get my belly fed and get my balls drained right off top, and then I from the get go, I gotta look for a while before I make that decision. So I'm like, man, when we're talking about the kind of women we want to approach and how women need to take care of the man and how they need to engage. Where does that start at, and then how can that be factored into? Well, she's average. If you just are going off of this is what I expect, this is what she looks like. Like, I don't think there's a rhyme or reason to it. Is where I'm getting at. I think that it comes down to how you start to, I guess, build together to where you're going to figure out, okay, she's average or she's not. Like, how do you just know that?
You know that when you meet them.
You acting retarded, bro.
Create the conversation like you see her and you're like, all right, she look good. And
you being real suspect and weird today.
That boy being real politically correct today.
I'm trying to get y'all to go deeper because I'm like, man,
how do you go deeper?
I'm not looking at something to figure out how we can build together off the top.
I'm saying you being superficial at first, and before I'm seeing where's the rest going. I'm hearing a lot of superficial. That's all I'm saying.
You started with the superficial by saying it after me.
I did, because I was like, wait a minute, I'm gonna throw this out there and see what it lands. Everybody was like, yeah, so superficial. And I'm like, nah, I don't think that's where it's at. I think there's more to it.
Stop it. Hey,
he just watched Love Jones. He just watched Love Jones and the photographer.
Yeah, the photographer.
Before he watched this. That's what happened.
That's not it.
You see a girl at the club
after he done said he want to play for her heart.
That's not it. So here, I'm gonna give you. You want me to give you the truth and just get this conversation for it. So before this all went down, DeJuan shared the young lady. What's the lady's name?
Ali. Which one? The Shabazz Ali lady?
Baz Ali.
Yes,
And
Baz
she
Ali.
gave a great description of a lot of things that women and men, or for the most part, what women need to do to engage with men and then maintain them, as Tav was alluding to. And in that, she did not say how he looked. She did not say how she appears. She said how she carries herself. So that's where I'm thinking this is all going. And that's what I'm saying, the deeper part, how she carries herself. It's not about always the look. It's not about if she gonna feed you and then drain you. It's about how she carries herself. And so that's where I'm like, where are we really talking about? Because everything else was superficial. We haven't got to what kind of person she is. So it's not about the look things. It's about, hey, how does this woman carry herself to determine what kind of person I'm dealing with? That's all.
Man, you talking like an old man today.
I'm older than y'all. What do you expect? I already been here.
You still full of that bullshit though. That's what we talking.
It's not.
Parents know when you leave the club, we in Sacramento after leaving the club, we done sweated and everything. And the first you like, damn, I missed her in the club. Let me go try to shoot my shot. And the first thing you do is you go off appearance, right? Then you like, okay, we connected, we vibing. Yes. Then you move into some other stuff after the fact. But the first thing is a connection. What they said in the comments, and attraction. Right. You got to go off attraction.
Yeah, but that's not where we were going at first. You talk about connection. Everybody else was talking about draining balls and what she looked like.
Well, that's. I mean, you a dude. That's what you know.
No. We're talking
part of attraction. How she looks. You gonna be thinking about that? How is she gonna look when she draining my ball?
No. Let's keep it real though. Let's keep it real, right? So your initial attraction to someone is going to be the physical. I didn't put the physical in my list because I mean that's obvious, right? We all judge books by their cover. Let's keep it solid. Right. Now, if I walk, you could be a 10. You could look like a 10. If I walk up to you and you can't hold a conversation, and I feel like you're dumber than a doorknob, I'm not going to talk to you, right? I'm going to walk off. And on the other end, if I walk up to you and for whatever reason you are 4, and I'm having a conversation with you and you seem to be smart, you're going to hold my attention a lot longer. You're going to hold my attention. Now, that don't mean you're going to secure the bag, but you will hold my attention because you are educated and you can have a conversation and you have a personality. You can laugh. So let's keep that solid. But I think this aspect.
You remember how the big girls used to always have a cute dude because they know how to do everything. Nigga, they smart, they cook, they funny, they do all that shit.
They writing papers, and everything.
Y'all talking about big girls?
Big ones. All the checklists have young men.
We talk about it. We talk about it in general, right? Look. There was this my first week in college, right? There was this girl. She was like a 4, right? and she was consistent. She had seen me 3 days straight. Each day she was trying to say something to me. So you know how it is in college. Everybody hungry. So old girl was like, oh, you guys want to come over? I made spaghetti, and I'm like, hell yeah. So mind you, under no circumstances, in most cases, would I've ever talked to this girl. Girl was a little bit big. I actually have nothing against big girls, really. But in this case, it wasn't proportioned properly. Now, it wasn't proportioned properly. But because she was consistent with the cooking and other things, she got my attention for a couple weeks, right? So, and she was really smart. Now, we talked about everything, sports, all that. So what I'm saying is, when you're dating, you have to be able to bring things to the table other than your looks. And the fact that as a woman, you make money because a man don't care about your money. I don't care about your money. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter how much money my wife makes. I'm still going to pay the bills.
Right.
Right. So, or at least the mortgage. You know what I'm saying? So I don't care about your money because as a man, I'm a real man. I got to learn how to I got to be able to take care of myself anyway. So whether I'm paying our mortgage or my own mortgage, I still got to pay the bill. So I'm going to pay the bill.
And that's where I was taking it full circle from what that girl said. And that's where we all started. Where she's like, how I look and da-da-da-da. And what we're saying is you got to be able to hit a lot of the buttons to be like, hey, this is going to work out. And like you were saying, pay a mortgage. We all go out to eat. I'm going to take myself out to eat. So it's nice to take somebody with us. So you're right. If it's not going to be like, hey, I need you to be able to secure the bag because we already got our own bag and we're going to do for you anyway. So what I'm trying to say, and since people are tuning in to hear what we got to say is there's a lot of factors that's in it. It ain't about your look. It ain't about how you drain. It's about how you carry and how you engage for us to really be like, hey, I want to marry you or I want to see this go somewhere. That's where I'm trying to take all this the full circle. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't just be out here picking any and all everybody. You know what I'm saying? I feel like when we're talking about this stuff, we talking about, this man telling this woman that she was average. That's a little degrading because we don't necessarily know what her true potential is going to be or not going to be.
But it's he spit some facts though, Tab. So this is based off the sentence. I'm saying she like, okay, I got one kid, I'm looking for a husband, right? But 42 to 48% of all black women never been married anyway, right? That's double they white counterparts in general. And then right now, only 26% of black women are married right now. So when she's saying I'm trying to find a husband, this or that, and whatever, it's slim to none to find a husband in general because 50% of the women, even they got kids or not, ain't married anyway.
Do you think that women should go into these dating relationships trying to, with that as the forefront, like I'm trying to find a husband, or should they let the chips fall where they lay and figure out if he's husband material?
In my opinion, you got to let them fall where they may.
Mm-hmm.
But but that comes with being honest, right? So both of y'all got to be honest. If he like, I'm just trying to smash it, then you got to listen. He's just trying to smash it. Or if he said I'm looking for a committed relationship and vice versa, then you go with that. But the most important thing is the honesty part of it. If a dude tell you I don't really like you like that, then believe him. Don't try to change him.
Yeah, I think you got to come into it.
In the beginning of a relationship, people really don't change from what they're presenting.
Right.
I don't know how much that really happens, but from what people really present in the beginning, that's kind of how they stay consistent.
That's what I think you should look for. I think when dating, what I always tell people when you're dating, you should look for the person where you can be yourself with. The person where you ain't got to do all that. You ain't got to put your eyelashes on if you don't want to. You ain't got to put the wig on if you don't want to. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to always have on the heels. You ain't always got to be in the gym. The man that allows you to be who you are, so he accepts you, an unconditional, genuine version of you, that's the man you should be. That's the man you should put on the radar as a potential husband, because if you're allowed to be yourself within that relationship, you don't have to be this different version of yourself, then that's the relationship that's going to allow you to push and take your natural growth courses or path to growth in the relationship.
But that's
a man too.
That's their representative though.
Man too, yeah.
For those women that don't feel that they can take off, and I know I'm speaking for them, but I am going to speak for them. For those women that feel that they don't think they can take off them wigs, don't feel that they can take off them eyelashes and makeup and stuff like that, they're sending their representative into a situation where they're trying to find a husband. You should come as yourself. Why are you bringing your representative in the room? Because your representative ain't going to be there with us this whole time anyway. So it's a lot I think when we talking about this and figuring out what's average or not average, it's a lot of people out there sending their ambassadors into the room. Their liaison of, the whole United Nations and trying to negotiate policy and shit like that. No, bring your ass in the room, because we ain't talking about United Nations policy and who we bombing or what bills we passing around there. Bring your ass in the room. That's what
you got to think about it from this standpoint, right? And obviously, when you're meeting someone for the first time, they're meeting the best version of you, right? Well, that's an expectation that you can't always keep up. So if you every time you meet this man, your first 4 or 5 dates, you're always looking this way, and you're always acting as if you care about what he has to talk about, and you're always acting like you're nurturing and supportive, but that's not really you. All you're doing is setting yourself up for heartbreak later on, because he's going to start to enjoy and like that version of you that you're not going to be. I always say that when it comes to women and sex, right? They go in first couple weeks, first months of dating, they're having sex a lot. Well, that man is like, oh, since I can have a lot of sex with you, I don't really need to worry about any of these other women because I feel cool and comfortable with what we have here. Well, as a woman sometimes secure the bag, then she stops putting the energy and the effort in. And so as a result of that, then the dude's like, well, hold on, you changing. Now I built up this strong appetite for something and I'm not getting that anymore. And so that's the issue. And the women, he only wants sex. Well, no, that's what you gave him in the beginning. Don't give something that you're not willing to maintain. So what I always say is just give what you're willing to maintain. But then when you give more, it's appreciated now.
It's more, yeah.
It's appreciated now.
That was what I was talking about, Dewan. It's the whole thing of like, in general, them 3 out of 5 women can go in that room and get that man, but are they going to be able to maintain it? And when we're talking about maintaining, we are talking about if you come in the relationship jumping off the wall 6 or 7 days a week, and then as we start to get into that 10-year and we get off of the probation and honeymoon stage of the relationship, you're not doing that. I mean, that's a conversation that has to be had, because we've already talked about in the past how men express their feelings through sexual relationships and things like that, and they connect within that way. So to take part of that off of the table is going to rearrange some shit in his whole makeup, how he wakes up, gets up in the morning in any fucking way. So that's a bad situation to get put in right there. So I do feel that you're right. That you're right about that. How you start is how you might want to think about ending up. Or you may want to be just upfront and be like, we're fucking all the time because we just kind of started getting into this thing, and it's exciting every time I see you. It ain't gonna be that exciting every goddamn day, 13 years down the line from now or something like that. But them conversations you gotta have with a man, because the brain is kind of small and we don't even think about shit like that.
True. Well, I don't know, man. It's tricky out there. I pray for y'all that's out there in the dating world, because it's hard. I can't imagine being out there.
Shout out to my wife, who gave me she had three phone numbers. She gave me all three of them when we first met to make sure that I could track her down. Shout out to that, because I couldn't imagine being in the dating world right now. I always know where to find her at.
Yo, so we talked about Shabazz Ali in her video, and we can post that for people who didn't get to see it. And she talked about the breakdown in the Black relationship was a woman's desire to be independent, or a woman's desire to feel she doesn't need a man in the Black community. How you guys feel? What role do you guys feel that plays? Because when I hear somebody come into my office and they say, "Oh, I don't need a man," or "I don't need a relationship," they're already lost, because that's not true. Relationship, companionship is a primary need, the same as food, water, things of that nature. Look, there's 4 things that people go to therapy for. These are the 4 things that lead to mental illness in your life: issues in your family, issues with your work, issues with your sense of self, and lack of intimacy and companionship. Right? So when you tell me you don't want that or you don't need that, then that shows that your mindset is already you're already behind the curve. Because the reality is, you should say, I desire it, I just haven't found the right situation yet. Or I desire it and I'm afraid of being hurt. So that's why I'm apprehensive to it, because I'm afraid of being hurt. Because when people say that, they find that, look, unfortunately, we see a lot of, and I hope I don't offend anybody with this, but we see a lot of older Black women in our communities lonely, by themselves, 50 years plus. They just by themselves. They don't have a man, they don't have nobody, right? Because that mindset that I don't need nobody has plagued their ability to find someone. As soon as you tell me you don't need me, then you stop looking for me. And when you stop looking for me, you won't find me. And I think that's what the issue.
I think that my bad, Pete. Go ahead. My bad.
I think that it comes from something that, and I'm sorry to say, it's like that social media is that outside influence. I don't think that's something that is said in the household for somebody to pick up on. Like you're saying, the 4 basic reasons why people come to a therapist, I don't think the things that those 4 basic things falls into, hey, you ain't gonna need a man. I don't think, where would that come from, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking that's something that they either heard, witnessed, seen, and then after a while, it just manifested and it just continued to grow to where it's like, well, I got to get this all on my own. So then if something right does come in, you're like, well, I can't deal with that right now. I'm trying to do all this on my own because that's what I've been kind of informed to do.
Well,
I think it's something that's outside influence that creates that kind of mindset.
I think go ahead,
Tab. No, I was going to say, the thing about that is a lot of the stuff that even Shabazz, what she talked about is what Dewan talked about earlier. It's a lot of systemic stuff. It ain't that many Black men around. They're, like you said, dead or in jail. And the ones that do have something going for themselves, they off the market. So I think what she was talking about in that video is whether we did it as a culture or not, or whether it was systemic, there's been a big issue with the Black family, and we got to try to find a way to repair it. Whether that be, I wouldn't say, man, I guess I'm gonna get in trouble. I would say women try not to be the man of the house, be the woman of the house. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things of somebody got to lead at times, and then sometimes we walk together. So it's one of those things.
I'm gonna give you some.
Hold on, real quick.
Wait, no, with Jeff. So I'm gonna just give you something my mom used to say, just because of what you just said. Like the woman she was like, the woman should be the neck and the man should be the head. Yes, the man is leading the house, but that neck is helping it turn the right way. So yeah, you're right.
I agree.
You're right.
Here's the problem.
Don't be the head. Don't be the head of the house, but you sure can be an influence through the neck.
Notice
some of the things that we got to think about too is one of the problems when you was talking about the systemic issues that we have in the Black family is that because there's a lot of women that are, not necessarily in relationships, are systemic, that are not in relationships and things like that. The issue that we have is that you got women that are now taking on both roles, learning how to cook, clean, fix light fixtures, all of these different things, take on all of these different roles in the house. And then, they're doing this because there's a lack of a male in the situation or in the household. And then you've got these men and these boys that are going in a whole different direction of that, right? As they start coming back into trying to be a man of a household or trying to be in a one-woman relationship, they're trying to break the stereotypes of the shit they've been hearing growing up, trying to be players, trying to be out there in the field and stuff like that, realizing that even if that was the choice that you chose to make at one point in your life, it's not the long-term thing. You got to step into manhood, lead your household, and do those things. So you got two different people that are really trying to break out of two stereotypes. A woman is taking on all these roles and then learning how a man fits in that because there was maybe a lack of male in the household to do those things. I'm not speaking for all women. We just speaking for the ones that this applies to. And then you've got a lot of men out here that was out here learning how to work the field, have lots of women and different things like that. And nobody necessarily was telling them that was all wrong. And now they got to learn how to transition into that role. Two people going in two different directions is kind of fucking it all up.
That's true, Tav. Another thing is too, though, you got to think the first thing when your daughter, her first toy, what is a doll? Trying to be motherly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Boys, we get monster trucks. We doing all kind of wild, crazy stuff. The first thing we just trying to bomb something, right? So the first thing the women learn is to be nurturing. They want to be with somebody. And then once they get to a certain age of like, biological click is ticking. The man pool is shrinking. And then it's like, all right, well, maybe like y'all said, it's a lot of older women out there. I just got to cut that off from myself. It's not a possibility for me.
But that's part of the world, though, is that where our girls really growing up playing with dolls anymore. Now, everybody is grabbing tablets. So even taking on that nurturing role for young girls that are being placed in this world, that's starting to take a back seat, too, due to the fact that the YouTube channels, the tablets and things like that, it's replacing a lot of those experiences. In real life, how many boys are getting bought G.I. Joe toys right now? I don't necessily even see a lot of young little girls around with tablets.
They don't play with them as much.
That's the only person that I know that like literally her kids kind of grow up in like agriculture from the jump and like they do real traditional type of shit. And it's like, wow, like I don't necessarily see that no matter it's black, white or anything like that, where people engage in those type of experiences that are traditional to us growing up.
I think you got to think about it like this, right? So, we talked about it being, systematic, right? There has been a system in place to break down the relationship between black men and black women. And it started, like most things, with slavery, right? So what would the slave master do? He would go in to the slave's house and rape the slave man's wife, rape the woman in front of the husband, right? Once he rapes her in front of the husband, the woman is like, oh, you can't even protect me anymore. So now I have to protect myself because, again, systematically, hey, I'm going to show you that your man, your husband, the man who's supposed to take care of you, he can't do shit, right? So it starts there, right? And remember, slavery was 400 years. So there's systematically 400 years of these, the slave owners, the slave keepers coming in and just having sex with these women, and the man can't do nothing because if he does something, he died. So at that point, you have that. Now, once you get into, post-slave slave era, Jim Crow, all that type of stuff, you have black men being sent off to go work, in the warehouses, in the coal mines and things of that nature, leaving black women home by themselves again to take care of the families. So again, black women have been the head of the households because of the mindset or the way the system has created it. And they started to take the black man out of the home and put them in jails, again, placing black women in a situation. The problem is, again, because of that has happened in the past, we have this post-traumatic slavery syndrome where now these men today who are present, who want to be in the home, who want to do right, some women still feel like they're still the man. Now, I always say this, who's going to get the gun if somebody break into the house, right? If there's danger at the door, who's going to take care of it? And again, it has nothing to do, because here's the problem. Every time we criticize a woman or a black woman, we're apologizing. And that's also a problem. We all have blind spots. Yeah. And the only way we can have awareness of what's going on is for somebody to talk to us and tell us. In our community, it's when we talk about a black woman, oh man, you're talking negative about, I love black women. And I think black women are excellent. And if anybody's watched our show, we give all praise to black women, because black women are out there in the world doing great things under a lot of criticism. However, dear black women, sometimes you got to listen. When we're talking about relationships and dating, if you're not willing to do everything to keep that man, you're going to struggle. But you're going to struggle.
But see, Dewan, to your point, maybe, and I definitely don't want to negate what you said, but maybe we have a culture of black women that are they're not average. They're dealing with average to below average situations with the average black man due to systemic issues in our community.
I agree.
If the ratio of men to women, and it's like one of us to like 3 or 4 of them, is due to jail, unfortunate circumstances, all the things that we went over right now. I mean, that means that within that ratio, the black woman is probably going to have to take on, in most cases, based on her ratio, our below average situation and try to make the best out of it. I will say that where I will give them credit at, and I ain't looking for no kudos because I say some shit next week that's fucked up, that they do have to take a lot of situations and make lemonade out of lemons with the selection of black men that they have. And so when we look at it like that, I mean, yeah, he called her average. I mean, she called herself average and things like that. But shit, maybe she used to dealing with Leroy Jenkins, this, you know what I'm saying, in and out of jail, you know what I'm saying, got a probation officer and she got to deal with a whole bunch of shit like that. Or Leroy Jenkins that got 5 kids by 5 different women and she got to figure out how she gonna pull off Christmas and Thanksgiving every year. Like, it's a lot of shit that they get put through that when we get a little bit of money and doing what we doing out here, it's look, you got 7 kids by 7 different who's, that means you ain't gonna never know none of me. Period, point blank.
And I don't even think, to be honest with you, go ahead, P.
Oh, I was just going to say, when you were talking about, how the man was, how women was raped in front of her man, so he couldn't do nothing about it. There's also that flip side where the man was taken advantage of and saying, so the woman looked at the man like, dang, you're lesser than.
Yeah, and you getting smashed too.
Right. So let me put that out there. And then the second part is, you have some men who grew up in single family homes with only a woman. So he always know my mom said or my mom did, So he never had to step into a man role. So then he gets out into the world, and I ain't trying to flip the situation, but sometimes he's like, well, my mom did it all. And he really never learned how to manifest into becoming that man. So then you end up with the Leroy Jenkins situation because he's like, hey, that's just all I know.
But ain't that the problem with the, and that's a good point. That's another point, because your son is not your man. He's not your husband. Right, you hear this all the time.
You gave birth to a prince.
Right, you hear this all the time. I want to have a baby, so I know there's somebody that loves me unconditionally. Some of these women, you see some of this stuff going on Instagram and Twitter. Some of these women are treating their kids, their sons, like that's their boyfriend, that their husband, and that's not your husband. That's going to be somebody else's boyfriend or husband. So what you do is you enable him. You keep him from being able to go out and be a king because he never learned responsibility because you took care of everything for him. At some point in time, you got to let that young man start learning how to become a man. A man doesn't just happen because you turn 18. It's a process of learning, trial and error, where you learn how to do things for yourself. You learn how to cook for yourself. I mean, I remember cooking my first thing of French fries at the age of 6 or 7, right? Like, learning how to do things for you, having a job at 11 and 12. Right, nowadays, parents are so afraid that they keep their man from knowing how to take care of themselves. So now that man is running to women who can take care of them. Right? Men, it's a lot of, most women we know always had their own spot at some point in time in their life. Mm-hmm. Right?
It's more their own spot. We lived with them than they lived with us.
Right. It's more likely, and it's because we go.
I was over there.
we go from our mama's house to another woman's house, instead of sometimes figuring out for ourselves how do we want to go out here in the world and navigate on our own. And I think that's part of being a man too, is learning how to navigate on your own. So yeah, women are sometimes out here dealing with lower standards of men, and that I don't necessarily think it's because as men we're not capable. I do think because their expectations has caused their standards to be so damn high that most men can't live up to those expectations consistently, and that's the problem.
So I'm gonna bring it all the way back now. So now that you said that, I'm gonna bring it back to how we started. When you have those men though that has figured out how to maneuver and then how to create, and then they're now at a certain level in their life that they can be successful, then yeah, when you have women is like, oh, I'm expected to be with you. He's like, I don't have to, that's not how I move now. Mm-hmm. So that young lady was like, I'm expected to have this type of man. And he's like, no, I learned how to think beyond that. He doesn't have to deal with that. And so that's what he was saying. That's why I wanted to bring it all the way around. That's what he was saying. Like when some men get to a certain level of understanding, they're like, I don't have to settle for certain things, and I know how to maneuver around that.
Listen,
but nobody should be able to settle. Nobody should have to settle.
No, I don't think you should marry. I don't think you should be with or marry a settlement plan.
I'm just saying that's what he was saying to the young lady. Like, hey, men if you're looking for a certain type of man that has now grown past what all the bull we're talking about, he's not going to probably go and do it.
But
how did Rasputia, the woman out there look like Rasputia? Because women get angry. How did Rasputia get a man? Matter of fact, how did Rasputia get a man who's a handsome man? You know what Rasputia did?
Never mind. Go ahead.
She cooked. She took care of that man, and she made that man feel like a king. And because that man,
she said, "You want to go down the slide? I'm gonna show you. I'm
gonna slow you." She made that man feel like a king, and because she made that man feel like a king, he treated her like a queen. He don't mind walking around the mall with her, taking care of her. Black women are mad when these white women take their man. Well, white women are getting different trainings by their mothers at home. Their mothers are saying, "Hey, you do whatever you need to do. You do whatever you need to do to get a man. No, you do whatever you need to do to get a man. Keep it real. White women are being trained. You do what you need to do to get a man."
The one telling the truth. And the lady Shabazz talked about in the video. They had mamas and daddies at home, so they understood what it took to keep a man.
They understood.
All families.
I look at like my son and Dewan's son, right? Like they'll sleep nose to nose with their mamas, getting natured and nurtured and all of that. When you get out of the bed with your mom, or when she leaves for work, or when I catch you slipping, I'm still gonna kick your little ass because you gotta have a little bit of toughness with that nose to nose sleeping that you're getting. But it's all in fun and in love. But what it is that they're getting both of the things that they need all in the same household, right? It's an equal balance. Every day that I make fun of my son because he might be sleeping nose to nose with his mama, I'm still spoiling him in other ways, but I'm also pushing him a little bit, wrestling him with him a little bit. That's not stuff that you necessarily, I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't moms that go out there and do that, but when you have that type of balance, and like you said, that two-parent home that doesn't necessarily suffer from all of those systemic situations that we're talking about, it makes a big difference.
But Tab, the biggest thing that TJ and Daniel was learning, our children, is how to make decisions together. That's the key component, because when you're raised in a single household by your mother,
it's all independent thinking.
It's independent thinking. Oh, well, as a woman, I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do that. So when you got a man who comes in, again, just a normal man, he's not overly aggressive. He's just saying, no, let's do this. Then there becomes an issue, because a lot of times it's about training. It's about being conditioned to recognize that in order to be in a healthy relationship, you got to view it as a partnership. We make decisions together.
Well, I say that all the time too. Without going into all of the details of my situation, I do talk about the fact that one of the transitional challenging pieces in my relationship was when we had to start figuring, when me and my wife had to have conversations about that. Like, hey, like, I know you used to be in, calling your own shots because you did this for this portion of your life like that. But you have a whole nother coach here that if you want to coach the offense side of the ball, I can coach the defense side of the ball. Like, but you have to understand that you're not a single coach and GM anymore. You're a part of a coaching staff. And so, while we had those transitional talks and stuff like that, I could see how if you only have one coach in the house that does your offense, your defense, picks the players on the court and all the things like that, you might really grow up thinking that it goes like that, but also out here looking for love. And it's like, shit, that's gonna be a recipe for disaster. Not unless you find somebody real submissive. Or you buy one of them AI blow up dolls that they had on the HBO channel, them artificial ones, like $10,000-$15,000. They talk back to you and all that shit. You gonna have to.
You stupid, bro.
So why
stupid? Them things was crazy, bro. That's what these people out here that's doing this weird shit gonna end up doing one day, because they ain't gonna be able to make it.
Before we wrap this up, we gonna take a couple questions. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody got a question, I posted Miss Lynette's. She said this is frustrating. There's something that we've said that's frustrated you. Please ask a question and speak on it so we can address it before we get off. Because again, it's our job as men to help ourselves as well as women understand this from a man's perspective. That's why we call this Braspective. Brother's perspective, right?
I got something real quick too.
Go ahead.
Rasputia was going to Power Tap. She was going to Power Tap. She was going to Power Tap, but she was doing two things at once though.
But and also too,
Eddie Murphy wasn't getting all the needs, man, and she was getting fit. So I mean, you know, I don't know, man. Women play the game too. Don't think it's just us, bro.
But
I think it ain't just us.
I think she's saying all these ideas by herself and stuff like that. Like, you know, these are a combination of thoughts that we've made opinions on being men, but we've also gathered through our experiences and having different conversations with women as well too. I am never afraid to admit. Shout out to G Mommy. She's always in here. Marjorie. I haven't seen her in a while, but that's because I've been out here dealing with these people, and you know,
Marjorie always showing love.
She
appreciate it.
She's officiant at my wedding. She is my number one in a lot of different categories in life. These are conversations that we have with people that help build our scope. Now, I might not have said everything that G Mommy authorized today or not, but at the same time, you know, I do have, you know, a woman that is, you know, along with my mom and my wife, that is very important at the top of my caliber.
Monique always in here lurking too. You know, shout out to Monique.
Let me in here lurking. So let me say something.
Shout out to Amy. I see you.
I'm gonna shine some light on some positive, like another side that Taff and I did talk about or say in general.
Y'all got some questions? Ask now, forever.
Okay.
Hold your
peace. Let me say this. Taff and I was talking about this topic in general and how it was like, man, and I think this also goes to what Shelly was saying. It's frustrating because there's so many factors that play into this. But then Taff and I was saying, well, you know what, though, if you find that right situation and you find that right woman, and this is just how we were feeling.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
If you find that right woman, she's gonna do exactly the things that we're talking about, because that's what she's able to do. For instance, you give the right woman some money to work with and you nurture her, she's going to turn that into something more. You give the right woman a house to work with, she's going to turn it into a home for you. You give that right woman that kind of love and she's going to give you children. So we're just not saying like it's not out there and it doesn't exist. It's just that investing in that right person and you guys building together, it does create a beautiful situation. We said some more stuff, but at the end of the day, we're like, hey, the right woman can make a lot of things happen, but
the right woman and the right man, because G-Ma did say it is frustrating that men lie so much, right? And I think we struggle as men with learning to be vulnerable. Again, remember, we always talked about what's systematic. We've also been conditioned as men to, you know, to not always give the best version of ourselves. We have to put on our representative. We're not vulnerable. So what happens is when women sometimes show up, sometimes too early, you know, showing up, being vulnerable, investing, you know, everything into a person that probably is not worth it because that man is lying to them. But let's keep it real, bro. There's books out there teaching women how to be a side chick. Ooh. So what that means is women are recognizing and understanding that the pool of men that are going to meet their standards are probably not there. So they're willing to get some of those needs met for another woman's man. That shouldn't even be the case. All it has to be is
basically having the side.
Yeah, understanding, okay, what am I bringing to the table? And if I'm only bringing certain things to the table, not just my money, because again, that man don't care about your money. And to be honest with you, your body and your looks is not all going to be that either. Because, you know, hey, we talk about this. You can get big or you can get small as a woman, right? Weight fluctuates. And no matter how long you're with somebody, over time, they're going to be not as attractive to you. So it's not about the looks, it's about how you are. Like P said, how you carry yourself as a woman. Are you supportive? Do I feel like you got my? Do I feel like you? If I'm a man and I have kids outside of our marriage, and I bring those into, are you going to take care of my kids like they're yours? Are you going to be there for me? You know, if I pass away, are you going to still look out for my family? Like, how are you with my friends? How are you with my mother? Like, those are qualities that really. And do you support me? When I go out of time for work, do you blow up my spot and try to make it seem like I'm cheating? Or do you say, hey, babe, yeah, go take that opportunity in New York for a couple of weeks because go get that money, chase your dreams. I'll be here when you get back. Well, are you supportive?
Me and Parrish had that conversation too yesterday. And one of the things that we talked about was that, you know, while we're having all these different conversations around women, there is a woman that is either responsible for your success because she hurt you and she drives you to be like, I'm going to show her, or I'm going to do this for myself because I'm never going to be in this position again. Or there's a woman that was also watering your plant to make sure that even though you had these different issues going on, you was like, man, I got to stand up and do my thing for it. I ain't never shy. I started with me. I think I met my wife with a job. I think the month before we really started even talking on the phone, I was on unemployment for like 3 months within the first 3 months that I met her. EDD. Shout out to him. I didn't get no PPE type of money, but I was doing okay. I could put $20, and that goes to my next point. I could put $20 on a $60 bill that we made at TGI Fridays. I say all this to say this, that while we was going through all that, somebody was watering my plant. Now I might be getting like 100 things, but we ain't gonna even talk about that right now. But I'm just saying, when you have a woman that nurtures yourself and stuff like that, there are women that are either responsible because they hurt you for your success as a man, or nurturing your success because they nurtured you as a man. And so that does play a very big part in it. I don't give a damn if my wife get big or small, as long as she jump off the ceiling just a little bit and she's still holding it down like she's been holding it down.
So I think that's really what it boils down to, right? You know, again, you could be average, but remember that more than likely off the physical, if you're average, you're going to attract average. That's just, I mean, we're talking about off the physical. But when it boils down to it, you have to be willing to be yourself, and you have to be willing to make sure that you're willing to meet the needs of the person you're with. Because too often you hear, oh, I ain't doing this, I ain't doing that for a man. Okay, the average woman is. So you didn't already price yourself out of the average man because you're not willing to do the things that the average woman is will. Look, we're in a new day and age, right? These young women, they willing to do anything. They willing to jump off ceilings. They willing to do whatever they need to do.
It's a girl while you kissing girls. Girls be kissing girls, and they be doing crazy shit, man.
So look, listen, we're men. We're men, and we all believe that we're above average. I don't know what P believes, but the 3 out of 4 of us believe.
Hey, Perry said he woke up. Perry said he woke up before he shaved. He was a 3, and when he shaved, he turned into a 4.
Man, all y'all is wrong.
Then he tried to punk us and say, well, I'm older than y'all.
I ain't even gonna put out what I know about everybody. Okay.
Here's the thing, right? Trying to find the perfect mate should always lead with you just being who you are. Now, if you're just you, and if you don't want to do any of that extra stuff, right? If you want to just be the woman who make your money and look good, then come off that way, right? Allow a man to see that you lack no substance. And the man who doesn't want substance, who just wants the trophy, he's going to pick you. And if you do have substance, be willing to allow a man to get to know you. Because once you involve the vagina, I need some vagina every time I come over.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
Man, y'all gotta wrap this episode up, man. Tab upstairs listening to this episode asking his mommy about jumping off the ceiling. We got to get this.
We got to go. Hey,
I gotta go to bed.
And shout out to Tori, because Tori did make a great comment that as men, who we believe we're good men, we believe we're great men, we have a responsibility as Black men to go out and mentor other men and help them and call them out when they're doing fuckboy toxic things and toxic behaviors. Now that's the thing about it. And we do that, right? So it's not about us just holding women accountable. We hold ourselves accountable. We don't allow certain things as men to happen in our clique. We don't play that fuckboy stuff, right? If you just be true, be authentic. But again, make sure that the women that we're dating, they understand that if you want to keep a man, if you want to get a man, you got to know how to keep a man. And it's not just about getting him, it's about how to keep him. And sometimes you have to be willing.
You end up too, though.
You got to gain something. You got to lose something to gain something. Yeah, so there's aspects of that.
maintain and retain, man. If you can sustain what you out here putting out and you having good dialogue about how it's tapering off and stuff like that, you can make it. But don't wake up one day and be a and then the other day and be a couch.
Go ahead, give me your parting thoughts, man. Before we get up out of here, go ahead and give me some parting thoughts.
So I'm gonna say the thing I always say: you only do this life one time. You don't get to do this shit over again. So please make sure you have them conversations, be authentic, and live the life you're trying to live, because you won't get to come back and do this again.
For sure. Be a good human, man. But we talking about this dating thing, man. Men or women. Be your authentic self. Try to be a good person, man. And just like Tab, we talked about this before on another episode. Don't be sending out all them representatives, man. Just be your normal self, because it might be harder to find somebody, but if you can find somebody as your normal self and your authentic self, then you're good to go. But
he'll still
check us out. Braspective.
He'll still do. If you got a chip fingernail, he'll still do it with you.
It's easier to be yourself than to be somebody else.
True.
All right.
Well, and just another thing too is that, shout out to everybody that pays attention to the show. My mother-in-law brought up a good point to me last week. If y'all are watching our show, send this link out, share it with like 10 or 20 people and make sure you send it out to them right before the show starts. We're going to keep on doing this. We want to continue to grow followership. We're going to continue to do what we got to do every week. We appreciate everybody that's tuning in. We got some special stuff coming up that Dewan has gotten the works for us about more education on important things to our community and everything. So y'all just keep staying tuned. We're going to keep rocking with y'all every week on the game.
So Monique wants us to do an episode on how to find a man that does whatever a woman say. I don't know if we can help you with that.
Doing that.
But
you know what? You need to turn off Braspective right now and go turn on some of them old Tyler Perry movies or one of them Steve Harvey movies. We ain't gonna be giving none of that shit out.
And stop watching them toxic all them wives shows, the scripted, and give women a false sense of what's the name. But at the end of the day, make sure you're true to yourself, and that works. We appreciate everyone following us. Like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We appreciate the love. Again, we are brothers. We are Black men, and this is our perspective, and we love to keep those perspectives going. If you have any questions or things that you want us to talk about in the future, please don't hesitate to send us comments, send messages in the comments, and we'll add them to our list. Everybody be safe, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Tab got more than bubbly in that cup.